Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert. And I'm typically going solo on that ass, but not this week. We have a special cameo appearance on the Brace for Impact show, a Brace for Impact original. JD, you weren't able to catch the show on. You weren't able to come on the show on Sunday. You had a pet's emergency, but here you are live in the flesh. What's up, my brother?
Like if you're not going solo on the ass, does that mean we're Eiffel Towering this show this week? Is that how that works out?
Yeah, we're gonna Eiffel Tower TNA today.
Oh God, that's way creepier than I thought. Oh
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, Astor almost died. That was fun.
How was the
So,
little guy doing? I didn't really talk about it on Sunday. I was like, that's
so
JD's story to tell, but
Jerome, I'll save. I'll tell it again. I guess when we have a regular show. But so my wife bought these pork chops, bacon wrapped pork chops from the local butcher shop. They're a great butcher shop. So I actually ran to the gas station because I needed propane for the Blackstone. Right. So I'm at the gas station, and she gives me a call, and she's like, "Change of plans for tonight." I'm like, "Oh shit!" I knew what that means. The dog got the food because he's about 70 pounds. He's not a very tall dog, but he's a bulldozer. He goes where he wants.
right.
So I'm like, he ate the food, and she goes, not only did that, he ate toothpicks. And I'm like, he ate toothpicks. So I was like, God damn it. So I came home, and then I found out he ate metal toothpicks. There
Yeah,
were two
yeah.
giant toothpicks
Well,
that were in his pork
they were
chops.
skewers. They were
Skewered.
yeah, they're
They
not toothpicks, they're skewers.
She said toothpicks, so I thought he just
Yeah.
ate like a wooden toothpick, and I was
Right.
mildly annoyed than
Yeah.
anything. I got home and realized, oh shit, he swallowed two pork chops whole, two whole pork chops without chewing. The
Sorry,
dog
I don't mean to laugh at poor Astro.
fucking hilarious. I probably saved his life actually because it took forever to digest because he didn't chew
Yeah.
any. And then so she's like, I'm pretty sure he ate them. So I'm like, God. And then she shows me what they're. I'm like, oh shit, these are like they're metal. I showed you the X-ray. They got
Yeah.
ribs on them. So we took him to the emergency vet, and we were there all night Sunday. And they're like, well, we're gonna keep him overnight, and I think we can scope him out. So they literally just scoped the dog and like hooked it and pulled the two things right out. So the problem with it is the dipshit dog learns no lessons from this whatsoever.
Yeah, I get the feeling that there's some like you could put the same food out with the same skewers in there and he's doing that shit again, like 100%.
Okay, 100%. There's like what did he learn? He got to go meet a bunch of new people who loved him and played with him.
Yeah.
There's
And
no negative consequence for the
no,
dog.
and they probably babied him and the whole deal. It's
For
funny
sure.
when you texted me that I I haven't told the story on the air yet, but just a few weeks ago my son ate a baby lizard, and my wife's like, she goes, oh my god, so, something's wrong with Elijah. I was like, what? And I was like, what's wrong with him? She goes, well, nothing's wrong with him, but he was crawling on the floor and he had something in his mouth. I was like, well, it sounds like my son. Like anything that's on the floor is his.
Those are
The
the-
Hoover vacuum. She goes, well, I went to go pull it out and it was a baby lizard's head. I was like, how the hell did he get that? And she's like, I don't know. It must have got in the house or something. I was like, but where was the rest of the body? She goes, I don't know. I only saw the head. And so from what I can gather is he either bit the baby lizard's head off, because he's got teeth now, or he ate the rest of the body and swallowed it and still had the head in his mouth, or the cat left a present in the house, which is what I'm thinking is actually happening.
That's the most logical, actually.
Yeah, because the cat has left us presents before to let us know that he's getting rid of all the creatures around the house, and so I get the feeling that he had mangled a lizard, and then part of the head was just on the floor somewhere. So
then Elijah's like, oh, this goes in the mouth.
yeah,
It's amazing humanity was able to conquer this planet with how truly weak and dumb our young are. It's just astounding. I got a million Andy stories similar to that. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, but so the reason why JD the reason why JD's on hold. Let me take a swig of water for the working man.
before I'll finish up saying we had pet insurance on the dog, thank God. But the funny thing about pet insurance, you have to pay the whole bill until the claim goes in. So the credit card, little extended right now, little extended.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, dog.
Yeah. So the reason why JD is chiming in, not to tell stories about his dog, which we always love, is so today some news broke that I'm not going to hit the breaking news button yet because the deal hasn't gone through yet, but it was reported by Variety and it's been aggregated everywhere, reported everywhere. Dave Meltzer's picked it up and talked about it. This could have an effect on the wrestling business 100%. That Skydance Media, which now owns Paramount, is putting in a bid to buy WBD. We talked about this a couple weeks ago that we thought this might happen. Well, it looks like it's happening. People seem to think that this deal is going to go through because it would have to go through the federal regulators, and they're owned by Trump essentially. And so, if they want the deal to go through, it's going to go through. JD, what are your thoughts on the potential merger between Paramount and WBD?
Oh boy, it's not official yet. This is not the first time a company has come out saying they're going to buy WBD, and it doesn't quite work out. So we got to wait. It does seem like the Wall Street Journal broke this story, so there does seem to be a lot of smoke to this fire. Zasloff has talked about just yesterday, said he's still planning on spinning off the two companies, spinning them back off into each other. They might now. It's very possible the shareholders want to wait to sit on this because there's a decent chance that if the spinoff occurs, both companies could be worth more than the whole thing together. So that is one thing that I'm interested in. If it doesn't happen, it's because WBD doesn't want that. But again, we're talking like a cash deal right now, which is what they were talking about. Larry Ellison is the money behind Paramount Skydance. Right, his kid David is running it. Like, tell me if you've heard this story before. Multi-billionaire's son is doing media work.
Yeah.
So tell me if you've heard that one. It's intriguing right now. People in wrestling are freaking out about this when in reality, it's a lot to do about nothing at the moment. I don't like people like, oh my God, AEW is going to get canceled. It's like, we heard that 2, 3 or 4 years ago when Discovery bought Warner Brothers. Excuse me. I forget what the Warner Media is what it was called at that time.
Yeah.
The problem with Warner is that it's gone under so many freaking names. It's hard to keep track of all of them. So I don't necessarily think that it's something to worry about tomorrow because they do have a contract. Now, here's the thing. Here's what's crazy about this whole thing. A contract isn't worth the paper it's printed on. A show can get canceled at any point. I want you speaking of Skydance, Paramount in particular. When this merger, by the way, just happened a few months ago, right? Skydance they call these mergers, but they really are acquisitions because like Sumner Redstone was running Paramount forever. Paramount is the smallest of the studios. Always has been. Like it's always been the kind of a little engine that could. They fail a lot. And like you look at what Paramount Plus or what was it called before? It was Paramount CBS Plus before that. Like
yeah,
it's never quite. It's a failure. This company's been a complete and total failure from jump. Skydance picks it up just about a month ago, and they make this big blockbuster splash with UFC, accruing a shit ton of debt in the process. So the thought behind it was they're looking for a merger, right? Well, that merger looks like it's going to come from WBD. The interesting thing about a merger is when a merger occurs, typically one company's culture kind of absorbs the other one, right? It's almost like when ancient Rome would take over the other countries around it. They kind of let the countries run it themselves. They were just in charge and collect taxes. It's kind of like that when these mergers happen, except like the bigger companies entity, like for example, Warner Media. When Warner Media got taken over, Discovery was the company that ruled. So that's where Zasloff came from, right? He was the Discovery guy. So it's interesting in that regard. If the Paramount Skydance is accruing all this debt, and now they're talking about making this like basically a cash purchase, right, of WBD. So they're talking about just paying cash for this thing, billions of dollars. They're still accruing a ton of debt, and then what happens? Because like right now, they're deficit spending out the wazoo. Like the deal they made for UFC will never be profitable for them.
No.
So the whole idea of these mergers is to unload the debt onto the next company and walk away. That doesn't seem to be what's happening, right? Which is again makes me kind of go, well, that's interesting. They can say, well, he's a billionaire; they can spend. The problem is like these are publicly traded companies, and shareholders don't want you to spend, like without seeing anything, right? So WBD shares went up; they went through the roof today on the speculation of a possible merger. So that's what's interesting. Warner, we've given a lot of shit to WBD over the years, right? Warner had a kick-ass summer. Like the biggest hits of the summer were all Warner Brothers movies.
Yeah, that Superman was a really big hit.
So, and now here's the haters like, oh, it didn't make as much as Man of Steel. Well, you got to understand, the film business in 2025 is not the film business of 2016. Movies don't make $1 billion anymore, right? COVID changed so much of the entertainment landscape, right? People just don't go to the movies anymore. Like, it's hard to inspire people to go to the movies. People are like, oh, people are sick of superheroes. People are sick of everything. Like, there's not much that's making big killings at the box office, right? It's a different world. That said, Warner had a great year. And there's people that are concerned that if you combine Warner and Paramount, you have one less studio. There was 5 before. There's 6. Now we're down to 5. This happens, we'll be down to 4. Not great for competition purposes. There's fear that because of the people running it, they're very MAGA-y, that it will silence the voices, like individual voices, like minority voices. Particularly one of the biggest movies of the year for Warner was Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Prohibition era vampires. Can't say enough good stuff. So that's a concern. It's an unfounded concern right now, but at the same time, these are the same people that I'm going to put a pin in this thing. We'll come back to it. The first thing that happened with this merger was they announced the cancellation of the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert wins his time slot pretty consistently. He's the number one guy in late night. His show was canceled. And that's pretty much let's be real, everyone knows it. It was a thank you to the Trump administration for allowing this merger to go through.
Yeah.
It will happen again. Now, that's the thing. And this is not a new thing. Right, Dave always likes to reference the I believe they called it like the Rural Co of CBS in the 70s when they canceled Hee Haw and some other hillbilly show. I forget what it was, but it was CBS wanting to revamp their image, even though these were all money making shows. Right, so television programs can be canceled at any time. So this is where how does AEW, right? TKO has been planting seeds everywhere, right, everywhere. Now, the fear is that because TKO has gotten so much from Paramount that immediately AEW will be canceled if that happens in WBD. Well, they have a contract, so they have some liability or some little room there. But again, shows can be canceled at any time, right? 5 years ago, this is a big issue. Today, when major media conglomerations have acknowledged that cable is essentially dead and that everything is on streaming, it's they can go to Amazon. And it's really not a whole lot different based on where cable is at now. Once you notice, Mike, that the last few weeks, wrestling ratings in general have taken a massive tumble.
Yeah.
Right. Across the board. Now, is that because people are done watching wrestling for Labor Day, which does happen? That is a real thing. Or is it because that the number of homes are changing and we're in another flux? No one knows the answer to that. So we're in a weird place right now. Theoretically, they could cancel it. WBD could cancel AW tomorrow, right? And there was nothing, it would be a thing. Same thing can happen with WWE. Netflix has an out, they can get out of that contract anytime they want. And based on the numbers, maybe that does happen, right? The interesting thing about WWE right now is they have not asked for exclusivity from any of their rights partners. I'm starting to wonder when those rights partners ask for exclusivity from them. Because this is very much like, what I find so fascinating about this is very much like the 1980s. Right, in 84, 85, when Vince is really making his impact, he's buying up all these small, not territories, he's buying TV programs, right? He's buying slots on TV stations. He didn't buy up territories. The only territory he bought was Stampede, right? Everywhere else he bought TV slots. And then he bought some on various cables. So at one point in 84, WWF TV is on MTV, USA, TBS, right? Those are big, on the top of their syndicated packages. Right. WOR is a superstation, much like TBS. So that's essentially the same thing. So they're all over the place. And eventually they want that winds up not being a thing because these partners want exclusivity. No one has asked for that as of yet, and I'm surprised, and I think it's coming. So I think this is fascinating to me in this regard. Like, what becomes of these partnerships? Because if you're spending all this money and they're diluting their product, if I'm investing all this, at some point I have to start going, hey man, what are you taking care of us? And this is pretty much what happened with WWE and NBC Universal. NBC Universal, and I said it on this show years ago, and I'll stick by it. I think a big contributor to WWE's upswing in the last few years has been the Peacock deal, which is now officially done. Right? WWE bent over backwards to get out of that deal and to end it soon. 100%. And NBC Universal kind of went, all right, go fuck yourself, and essentially canceled Saturday night's main event. And now, because they have a contract, it exists in Peacock. right? So I have to wonder, this is a legit question. Is this relationship soured to the point where when that SmackDown deal comes up, that NBC Universal Comcast starts thinking, maybe we don't do business with you anymore because you have your hand in so many other pots. Like, it's not like Comcast needs WWE to exist, right? So this is what I wonder. I wonder where we wind up with this. And like, because they really screwed over a longtime partner. Again, TKO different than Vince McMahon. At some point, they go, okay, fine. That's just the way business goes. Like, I know
Yeah.
everyone thinks TKO holds all the cards and all this, but that's really not true. They're dependent on these media deals. And there's only so many times that you can hose over one partner in favor of the other. Like, it's like having an open relationship, man. You got 12 girlfriends. Eventually, the wife at home starts getting pissed off,
Yeah.
right? Like, I wonder where this kind of leads. Another thing I have to say, and I think everybody is, I think that we freak out so much about these relationships, and I'm going to throw some words out, Mike, and tell me if they mean anything to you. Time Warner, Viacom, America Online, right?
Yeah.
These are
They're all dead.
Blockbuster Video. Like,
Yeah.
these massive conglomerations rise and fall very quickly. Right, like these partnerships, like we look at this, oh man, this is the thing, this is it now, and these things they don't last very long. They're very impermanent. And that's the thing about all these media rights deals and all these media rights partnerships. Like, they don't last. Something gets spun out of something, right? Everything gets spun off. Like, it would not surprise me if in 5 to 10 years TKO doesn't spin WWE and UFC off. If there's more money there, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Or if for some reason one of these deals turns, because it's not like all these big conglomerates get together and it's just they rake in money. It's all speculator money. They make money before all this shit happens. And then when they lead to then there's fallout. And these executives all jump ship to go somewhere else. And then someone else has to fix all this. That's why none of this stuff is permanent. Everything is in a constant state of flux. So where things are right now, like, think about when we first started this show. Everything is completely different in the media rights world. I said to you when we first launched this that we will reach a point in streaming where everything will burst and we'll basically go back to network television with three main networks, and that's it.
Yeah.
Guess where?
Yeah. Now, and it looks like we're getting very close to having Disney, CBS, Paramount, and NBC Universal, and like that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Netflix would be like number 4. Right?
Netflix would be before. We're back to what TV was. And here's the thing too, is people are freaking out about the state of competition, right? The studio system in Hollywood existed from the 20s essentially to the late 50s, early 60s before it imploded. And there's only a handful of major studios. What happened in the 60s and 70s when you had all these other maverick filmmakers and all of a sudden independent film becomes a thing, and it changes the face of the studio system, and it has to evolve. Right, in the 70s and the 80s, things really change. Right, same thing happens in television. In television, we have 3 major networks from the 50s, the late 50s, because ABC doesn't get started mid 50s, to the mid 50s, and it was like that until Fox launches in '86. So you have 30 years of big 3 networks. And then at the same time Fox launches, all of a sudden cable changes the face of everything. Right? Remember, cable was considered dinky shit until the late 80s, early 90s, when all of a sudden cable is competitive. And that's what explodes. That's when you really have choice. And anytime something like this is a business, you have booms, you have busts. Right? And whenever anything goes into one direction, there's always a harsh upswing toward the other. And I think that's where we are right now. Is in the 10s, like we had WWE, they were doing their over-the-top streaming platform. They were way ahead of the curve. Everybody did that, and now things are starting to retreat in because there's not as much real money in subscriber dollars, right? We've all hit a saturation point on what we're willing to pay for, and these companies just don't know what it is. So what's it going to be? Where are we at? Like, where are we? ESPN made a big move thinking that they can just exist on their own. Time will tell.
Yeah, I think that's a huge gamble. And then asking people to pay $30 for it, which would put them at the most expensive streamer out there. I think is wild. You know, as of right now, like most cable companies, you can't use your cable provider to get access to ESPN. Other than just like a small handful. Like I have YouTube TV, I can't access the new ESPN app, so I am going to be Captain Jack Sparrow when it comes to WrestlePalooza later this month. So which I haven't had to do with WWE because they've been on Peacock. So but I'm not about to spend $30 for that show.
Now,
Not a chance in hell.
no, this is a golden era for content providers, for content creators, I should say. They're getting stupid amounts of money thrown. This is why I don't worry about AEW. They're well funded, right? And there is Amazon. And the Amazon, if you launched Dynamite on Amazon in 2019, I'd be like, I don't know. Now Amazon is on the same platform as everybody else. Everybody is a streamer. If you're on a streamer, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like even like NXT being on CW is great for them. It's over the top. It's over the top broadcasting. But I mean, like, ultimately, who cares? There's more people watching Netflix than there are watching the CW on a daily basis, right?
Yeah,
So
I was taking a look at the data, and you got like over 100 million people subscribed to Netflix, right? You got over 100 million people are subscribed to Max and Paramount, and I think Paramount because it's more like it's also worldwide too, just like Max is. I know they have geotagging or geo blocking, and with some of their programs, but like those three are really really big, much bigger than Peacock. Actually, I didn't know that. I thought Peacock would have been bigger than Max, but no, Peacock, because they're only in the U.S., they're not as big as those other two, which was kind of surprising to me. So it's huge. I think everything is going streaming. If like it's at the point now where if you're on television and you don't have a streaming deal, like you're way behind.
way behind. Everything is on a streamer now. Because I cut the cord in 2014, and I know our bosses Joe and Rich kind of like always go, oh, man, people like, haha, nobody watches cable anymore. But I mean, it's accurate. Like for the first time, we really have more people watching streaming than watching linear television. Like that's the reality of things. So
Yeah.
that streaming is vastly important. The problem is nobody, including these CEOs, right? Nobody knows the value of these things. We're making guesses, and they're spending billions in deficit because of debt isn't real,
No.
right? Debt isn't real. Like it's not
They just assume so much debt. They just take on more debt, take out more loans, and they take out more loans to pay for the other loans that they already have. And then someone's going to be left holding the bag, but it's not going to be any of them because, like you said earlier, they're just going to be bailing on it.
Exactly. Those CEOs are going to get their golden parachutes and they're going to bounce. So it's going to be somebody else's problem. Like and here's the thing too, we're about to be in a recession. Like pay attention to anything. The global markets are trending toward recession. That's just the reality of life, not just in the US, but across the globe. Like we are on the verge of a recession. How much are people going to be willing to spend on these streamers? Like there's going to be a lot of bloodletting. So the streamers know this. So that's why they're doing so much spending to make you go, you have to be a part of this. Like Paramount will never see that money back in the UFC deal, but they're banking on the fact that enough UFC fans are going to go, are you fucking telling me I don't have to buy a pay-per-view every month on top of being on ESPN? I'm in.
Yeah.
That's a pretty safe gamble, I think.
Yeah.
What's
now that it's on Paramount, I have that service. I'll probably start watching UFC again. Like I would watch main events, but I wasn't really much into it because I would always have to steal it, and like it just got to be annoying. But now that I'm here on the East Coast, and it's going to be on Paramount, I might actually check it out more often.
Like now, here's the thing I wonder about too, is like, does having it more available like that actually like lessen the appeal? My Jude, he used to say, if it's for free, if you treat it like it's worth nothing, people don't think it's worth anything. And I wonder about that because you look at what the Netflix numbers for Raw are, assuming these numbers are correct, nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
There's no regulatory committee on any of this stuff. And even Nielsen's always been we think this is what it is, but it was a system everybody used, so you at least had a barometer to work off of. Now, nobody knows anything. But if we were to assume that this raw data is real, like people aren't watching Raw like they used to, right? Or we were wrong the whole time, or we don't know anything. That's why I said we're in like a postmodern phase of media consumption right now where nobody knows anything, and this could freaking backfire for everyone.
Yeah. Well, JD, I think we nailed that topic. We'll have more about this topic on Sunday night, Mike and JD show. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to clip this for the YouTube. So we're currently live on Patreon right now, but we're going to clip this for YouTube. I'm sure Dave will have more in the Observer, and I'm sure a lot of people we'll try to get like a wrestling slant to it by Sunday. But I just thought that this topic was pretty fascinating, and we didn't get to see you on Sunday night, so we wanted you to check in with us. And we'll see you this Sunday night. We'll talk more about it.
See you Sunday, Mike. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right, it was nice having JD back on Brace for Impact. We got Io in the chat. Said Warner Brothers been gone through so many changes. I can't say I'm surprised. And he said this clown Airgold be saying Netflix is disappointed with the Raw numbers. So he just made that up. Like, we don't know if Netflix is disappointed because they haven't talked about it. So it's possible they're disappointed, but I don't know what those numbers are. Dave Meltzer has done a lot of research and he's come up with a lot of numbers, but we don't exactly know how accurate those numbers are because nobody's publishing anything. And he's just using kind of available data points to kind of create numbers for them. And then some people are saying, well, that must be those must be the numbers, but we don't really know anything. But let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get some TNA talk. I know that's what everybody's here for. I wanted to bring this up. So there was a guy on Twitter earlier. I think he's a sports agent, and his name is Lopiscopo or something like that. He has become kind of a Dave Meltzer reply guy and a troll, kind of always talking shit about AEW. And I normally wouldn't even be talking about a guy like this, but he said something that pertained to TNA and their TV deal, so I thought I'd go ahead and bring it up. Now, in it, he did say that he might not know what he's talking about, but this guy's a connected guy. I believe he's CM Punk's agent. I'm just trying to find the tweet right now. Let's see. Okay. All right, I'm finding the tweet right now, and then I'm going to pull the tweet up. But I did find this fascinating that this guy would even be talking about TNA, considering most of his tweets are anti-AEW tweets and pro, MAGA WWE. But he says this is from Nick Lopiccolo, not related to Brian Piccolo, the famous fullback from the Chicago Bears. But he said, I don't have any inside knowledge. So he immediately says he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he is a connected guy. So I'm just like, this is interesting. He says, I don't have any inside knowledge of what TNA's TV deal talks look like. But, and this is pure speculation. So again, speculation. But this guy's connected. He is an agent for a lot of the wrestlers. He is a Paradigm agency. So and I'm sure he's helped make TV deals for other folks, but he's a sports agent. So this guy is connected. Bit of a dipshit, but he's connected. I just want to put that out there. I think CW Network makes the most sense. NXT is already huge for CW. There's creative crossover with NXT and TNA, and it creates 2 nights of counter programming. That I believe that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, I said here last week that I thought Paramount would be the best place for them to go. And for all the reasons that JD and I just spoke with, how much money they're spending and how big their platform is internationally, not only in the States, but internationally. And then if they're to merge with WBD, I think that would be a great home for TNA. I think ultimately going all in with, like, even if it was just on the app, but if they did like a half cable, half app, whatever, I think just going all in with that company would be the best thing for them. Would give them the most worldwide exposure, put all the pay-per-views on that app. ESPN or UFC is going to be on that app now. And so I'm still going to be bullish that that's the best way to go. I don't think that the current management team and the current ownership group would be able to get a deal like that done. I think that's probably too big time for them. So that's why you're seeing guys like Piscopo here say that he thinks that CW would make the most sense, because CW doesn't really spend a ton of money on content. So In fact, I think they're really getting a steal on NXT. NXT makes a lot more money for them than they make, otherwise. So I did think that was interesting. Funny enough, I had commented on that tweet, and I got a DM immediately from somebody that used to work for TNA, and the DM, and I'm not going to tell you who it was, but some people could probably figure it out. But the DM was like, everybody keeps talking about this TV deal, and I just don't think it makes sense for CW to bring them on, because what is CW actually getting? Like, where is the value in TNA? And I think that's a good point, because TNA in its current state isn't really driving ratings and driving ad revenue and driving all that stuff. I think the reason why you would bring in a TNA, because they kind of got a hot hand right now, although TV numbers, we don't have those. I'm sure they're not great, especially because they're being put out for free on YouTube every week now. I pay for the fucking app, but it's free on YouTube, so that's fun. But I think you would be signing them based on potential, like what it could do in the future. And is that a smart decision? It's not for me to say. Probably not. But I think part of them getting a TV deal is them being able to go in there and do a really fucking good sales pitch and say, hey, we can give you live 52 weeks a year, 104 hours of content annually. And then if you have a streaming service on top of that, we can give you 12 pay-per-views a year. And then here's look what we've been doing. But with your help and your exposure and your backing, we could elevate each other together, which is not something that TNA has been able to do for any network. They've always been the highest rated show on their network, but they've never really elevated any network up into a higher level. And then as of right now, like if they were to go to CW, NXT has absolutely helped that network out a lot, but I don't think that TNA would do NXT numbers. I just don't. I think they would do good numbers for TNA's level, but I don't think they would do NXT numbers. And the only way you're going to elevate that network is if you go boom, and up here you start raising the level. So we'll see. I don't exactly know how any of that would go. But we're going to keep monitoring it. Anytime, anywhere, any person talks about a TNA TV deal, I'm going to be covering it right here, because that fucking TV deal is one of the reasons why I'm back on the air. It's because I need to know. I need to know what the hell's going on with that stupid thing. And before I get into the Impact review, I do want to talk TNA ticket sales from our main man, Dobby the Brain Heenan, a couple of days ago. He sent me the latest updated numbers. Let's go and talk about Bound for Glory. So TNA Wrestling is headed towards its biggest event of the year, Bound for Glory, set at the Songa Center in Lowell, Massachusetts on Sunday, October 12th. With the card stacked, and we don't know what the card just yet is, but ticket sales. Bound for Glory has sold 3,341 tickets out of 4,408 seats. I get the feeling as it draws near and they get closer to the 4,000 number, we're going to start seeing them open more seats up. And if you guys remember, and we're actually not that far away. We're not that far away from Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is just over a month away. So not far away at all. But if you guys remember, whenever they got closer to Slammiversary, they were like within a couple of weeks. That's when they started really ramping up their ad spending in the local market, right? And so they're really gonna hit the ground and they're gonna spam that area with advertising, and that's how they're gonna be able to fill that place up. I get the feeling that as they get closer to 4,000, then you're gonna start seeing them open up more and more and more and more, and they're gonna end up getting 5, 6, 7,000 people in that building. And that's a huge win for TNA. If they can get even remotely close to Slammiversary, that's a W. That is a big dub. Right now, honestly, 3,300 tickets is already kind of a win, right? Knowing that even if they don't open up more seats, if they do 4,400, that's a win. But they're going to open up more seats. It's going to really look nice in that arena because it's not the biggest place, but they can expand up to 10,000. They're not getting 10,000, but they can expand up to that if they want to, depending on how they set the stage up, right? So that's pretty awesome. So far, the Bound for Glory card, we have Team 3D versus the Hardys for the TNA Tag Team Championships and a tables match. Mike Santana versus Trick Williams for the TNA World Championship. Yes, Santana's winning. He better anyway. And then Ash by Elegance versus Indy Hartwell for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Should Ash get past Masha Slamovich, which we all expect her to do. All right, and then Victory Road. Victory Road's looking really good, actually. And I just saw that they opened up more seats today. I don't know how many seats. I think they expanded up to 2,800 tickets now. But the last ticket number that we got from a couple weeks ago, they were at 1,945 tickets distributed out of 2,600 seats. But they've expanded up to 2,800 from what I can tell for Victory Road. And then you got Masha Slamovich versus Ash by Elegance for the team. That's probably going to headline. Steve Macklin versus Frankie Kazarian. And then Leon Slater is now set to take on Myron Reed. So there you go there. The Impact tapings afterwards, September 27th. So there had 748 tickets available from a setup of 2,800 seats with 1,794 tickets distributed. So we're looking at getting close to 3,000 per night for that. They'll probably get there. The problem is they don't have a marquee main event. It doesn't appear that Trick Williams is going to be defending the title because he's not defending until Bound for Glory. This is basically kind of a C show for TNA. It's not really one. I mean, I know it's a TNA Plus special, but it is going to be a glorified episode of Impact, but probably with a lot better action, and which is typically what these shows are, especially whenever they're like in between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. I thought Emergence was a fun show. Emergence had a world title match on top. Oh, and Moose is taking on Mustafa Ali also, which I wouldn't expect Moose to win that, by the way. I would strongly suspect that he's losing that deal, unfortunately, for Moose and Moose fans alike. Since he's been babyface, other than tonight, I don't think he's won any matches. Like, System as babyfaces, they suck. Like, they were losing matches as heels, but now like they turn babyface and they're still just losing since they dropped all their titles. But all right, if you're in the chat, sound off, let me know. But I'm going to run through this Impact reaction. And here we go. All right, guys, here comes the Impact reaction. Impact was once again from Minneapolis, Minnesota, there at the Armory, legendary Armory. That's where the AWA used to hold a lot of their events back in the day. Well, I'm trying to get my screen set up here. These websites really need to calm the fuck down on their pop-up ads. It is ridiculous. Like, here we go. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting like a ton of pop-up ads, and I'm sure that it's dragging everything down. Bunch of jerk-offs. Okay. Oh my God, it did it again. Okay. I'm going to have to edit some of this stuff out. I had the website up, and then all of a sudden I'm just getting all these pop-up ads. Okay. All right. It's taped in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Tom Hannafin and Matthew Ray Walter on commentary. The opening match, I thought this probably should have closed the show, considering you have Moose, multiple-time former world champion, most recently the X Division champion, and then you got AJ Francis, who is WWE famous. I thought this one probably should have closed the show, but they decided to open the show with it, which I guess is not too crazy. Francis was wearing his Seattle Seahawks gear, despite the fact that the Seahawks lost to the 49ers this week. I know that it was taped before the football game, but he should have fucking known better. He should have known that Sam Darnold was not with that team in Seattle, was not going to beat San Francisco. That just wasn't happening. But yeah, before the match got underway, Order 4 Secret Service and Mustafa Ali came out. Ali joined on commentary. So there you go. Moose, full blown babyface, doing all the babyface spots, is getting all the chants, and the crowd was actually into him. I was like, man, it's gonna be really hard for Moose to be a babyface because like he's very unlikable on social media, and he's like he's been a really good heel. I think he's been a heel since 2018. I think the last time he was a babyface was whenever he wrestled Austin Aries at that 2018 Slammiversary. And and he was a decent babyface back then, but a lot more information. We know way more about this guy, and he has not endeared himself to people over the years. So I thought that was a questionable decision to make him a heel or a babyface, but it looks like it's working out. So what do I know? After a long break, AJ tried to suplex Moose, but Moose reversed it to a big pop. Francis came back with his pop-up forearm and shouted about the money. Moose yanked Francis out of the ring and whipped him into the steel steps. Francis came back and powerbombed Moose on the ring apron, back in the ring. Francis avalanche Moose, then Moose did that running knee in the corner where he flips himself over to the top rope. So there you go. Moose started a comeback. Moose avoided a chokeslam, hit a headbutt, then ran up the ropes and hit a springboard crossbody. And then the crowd went crazy for that. He does that every match, but it always freaking works. But I think with him, he's so big, and AJ Francis is huge. So to see these two big guys being this athletic, two former football players, Moose, offensive tackle, and Francis, mostly practice squad defensive tackle, but he did have some real live game experience. So a former NFL defensive tackle. I thought that I think this is something they need to go back to down the road. I really do. I think there's more juice here with these two guys, and this was a decent match. Moose took out the Secret Service guy with a boot, who was distracting the ref, and then hit a spear on Francis for the victory. I really liked this match. I thought it was a good way to start the show off. And AJ Francis continues to impress. I know nobody's going to really, and people don't like Moose, so they're not going to really compliment the match, but I thought that this was a fun match and a good way to open the show. In the back, other members of the system and then after the match was over, Moose challenged Ali to a one-on-one match at Victory Road, to which Ali accepted. So there you go. All right. Joe Hendry versus Eric Young. So Hendry is in the ring. Eric Young comes out, and he gets the match changed, and it looks like it's going to be Travis Williams. So Joe Hendry finally gets a victory, defeats Travis Williams in a glorified squash match. And then after the match was over, Eric Young turned on Judas Icarus and Travis Williams. And it looks like Eric Young is going to have his so my whole thing just shut down on me. Okay. So I had the results up, but the pop-up ads kicked my ass, and the whole thing just shut down on me. So I'm just going to wing it from here. And IO in the chat, keep me honest. Let me know what happened on iMPACT. But so Eric Young turns on Sinner Insane, the Northern Armory, which once Josh Alexander left, the whole faction was dead. It just has not worked with Eric Young. Eric Young has got people in the crowd with signs saying the cleanse is coming. I feel like he's going to take a big shit, but he's doing a gimmick. I think that Eric is going to end up wrestling Joe Hendry at Victory Road, and then that's going to be part of the cleanse. He's going to get rid of Hendry. Yeah, Io said EY pile drove both Sinner and Zane twice. Yeah, so he did do that. So, but that was the angle. There's going to be. I was questioning why they were giving this Eric Young and Joe Hendry match away on television, but it turns out it was just an angle. And now Eric Young turned on Sinner and Saint. I wonder what's next for Sinner and Saint. They have not done anything with those guys. They've just been these little henchmen guys they're not impressive henchmen. They should just be out there having good matches. Like that's okay to be guys that have good matches. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with those guys, but I think Eric Young is going to have a different faction here pretty soon. So probably bigger guys. And then I don't know if this was next, but I'm just going to talk about it. There was a fatal four-way with so the Rascals were in the treehouse, and they did the whole treehouse gimmick. Trey Miguel is back from injury. We thought he was going to be out a lot longer, but turns out he's fine now. So he was back. So Trey Miguel, Myron Reed, and Zachary Wentz, they were in the treehouse. They were smoking marijuana, and proudly so, I guess, and talking about the match, making jokes about something. This probably went on a little too long, but it's been a while since they've done it, so they just went with it. Which then leads to the match. You got the Rascals, Myron Reed, Zachary Wentz, and Trey Miguel, and you got Jake Something in a fatal four-way. And the story of the match was all three Rascals did their damnedest to take out Jake. And Jake was a beast the whole match. Jake was very impressive in this match, and it's really fun to see these little guys bounce off of him. And that was ultimately the story of the match. And then once they took out Jake, they all kind of turned on each other, which is what happens in these fatal four-ways. And then by the end of the match, surprise, surprise, Myron Reed won, and now he is the number one contender. Leon Slater was on commentary, and he hit the big splash off the top rope onto Jake Something. Jake continues to lose. so I wonder if his contract's up. I know he ended up having a thing with Frankie, which I'll talk about here in a sec, but I just find it bizarre that guy is so big, he's so impressive, and they just figure out, like, they just don't see it in the guy, and they just continue to beat him. But Myron Reed will now challenge Leon Slater at Victory Road for the X Division Championship. Look, it's a B show. They need to get Leon Slater some more wins, and Myron Reed's a guy that they can beat. And they don't value Jake Something, so they had Myron beat Jake, and you couldn't just do a one-on-one match with Jake versus Myron Reed because that's not interesting. So you had to put in the Rascals in there to make it more interesting. And so, yeah, this big four-way number one contenders match. And now to put a little bit of shine on Myron Reed, he's going to be heading in to Victory Road. I think the move is Leon Slater beats Myron Reed. I'd like to see Myron Reed spin off of the Rascals. And then at the pay-per-view at Bound for Glory, I am not really like a guy that does three-ways, but I think we need to give something to the Rascals. I think the Rascals versus Leon Slater in a three-way at Bound for Glory would probably be the way to go there. And then Myron Reed afterwards gets a tag team partner, and then they can do a tag team feud between the Rascals and Myron Reed and whoever his partner of choice is. I think that would be cool. After the match, they do a cinematic style deal with Frankie Kazarian and Jake Something. And Frankie is kind of courting Jake and said that he wants to mentor him. Jake needs something. And I know that sounds cheesy because his name's Jake Something, but very clearly there's something missing there between him and that creative team, and they don't see it in him. And neither has any other promotion either, because he's been a free agent before and nobody's picked him up. So it's like TNA likes him, but they don't see him as a star, and no other company is willing to bring him in. So it's like these two like the company and Jake, they're kind of like married to each other, where it's like they see that he's a really good talent, but they just don't know how to get him to be a star, and he can't get a job anywhere else. So it's like this is the only place he can go. I'm curious to see what happens. I think the whole Jake Something gimmick needs to die. He needs something else. And if putting him with Frankie and giving him a new name and a new gimmick is the way to go, I like it. Last week I said I wanted to see him like being managed by George Iceman or somebody like George Iceman. And then this week, this is what we get. And I'm like, okay, look, now I'm interested in where he goes from here. Because he's just big, strong guy, does moves and growls and flexes. And that's what he does, right? He does the moves with the Z. And people like that. People like guys who do moves with a Z. I like those guys. But if you're going to get over, you got to be more than that. And I hope that he becomes more than that. And maybe Frankie can get him to that next level. We'll see. Or it'll just be another fucking start and stop push, and he's going to be out of the company again by this time next year. So I don't exactly remember what happened next, but I think it was Heather Reckless, Heather by Elegance versus Jessie McKay, and a quick match, and Heather got the victory. She had her feet on the ropes, and M by Elegance was on the outside. Maggie Lee was holding the feet, and it was a whole to do. And the Elegance girl won. And afterwards, Santino comes out, and he made a match for after the commercial break between Maggie Lee and Cassie Lee, the two Lees. So M by Elegance and Cassie. And then they have a match, and I thought the match was like decent. I thought it was a decent match. And Cassie ends up getting the victory. So now, of course, we're gonna have to have another tag team title match at some point. The Inspiration got to win those tag titles, and we got to move on. We need to see Harley Cameron and Mila Grace in a tag team title feud at some point. We got to get those girls involved. I think they're a really good tag team. But that was that. At some point, the worst segment in probably the history of TNA. I know this sounds like hyperbole. I know it sounds like I'm being mean, but they did a segment that was so bad that I am surprised that it made air. And it was Alicia Fox, Victoria Crawford, doing a podcast. And she was doing a fake podcaster voice, and I think she was trying to be funny. As it turns out, she is not funny. It was bad acting. It was bad writing. It was bad production. The whole thing was awful. It was embarrassing to watch. Like, I felt bad for her watching that. And like, I'm watching it, I'm looking on her face, and she's like, I think she thinks that that's good. And TNA clearly thinks it's good because they fucking aired it. But it was among the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. It was embarrassing. Like, whoever greenlit that needs to go. Like, they got to be done. That was bad. So she does this dumbass podcast, and she's got her mic upside down. The whole thing was a mess. I feel bad for her because I know she's had some problems in her life, and I hope that those problems are not rearing their ugly heads. But, you know, she's doing this segment, and then she's invites Gia Miller on, and the point of the segment is she wants Gia Miller to apologize for having Tessa suspended, and now Tessa's sitting at home. She has no friends, no money. So, like, which says a lot about TNA's pay structure, and can't come to work. And so now Tessa's destitute at home. And Gia Miller, I thought, played her role well and said that she didn't do that. Like, Tessa did that to herself. And so they're setting up a match between Gia and Tessa at Bound for Glory. The Tessa experiment has not worked. And then this is like a last ditch effort to make the whole thing interesting. And we'll see how it goes. But the Victoria Crawford thing, she's not a good performer. She's not a good wrestler. She's not good on the mic. She's WWE famous, and I get the feeling they brought her in to shield Tessa from racist chants. That's my feel on the situation. I don't know that for a fact. Kind of sounds true, though. It kind of sounds true. But regardless, the whole thing doesn't work. It's just bad television. And they should be ashamed of themselves for putting it on the air. I couldn't believe while I was watching it. And I was just like, this is bad. This is just bad. So anyway, they did that dog shit. And I'm just going to talk about the main event because, again, my rundown for the show died. I had a whole web page up. It was the Observer, and they had too many pop-ups, and it was dragging the feed down, and then like the whole thing was unresponsive, and then it died. So next time I need to pull the notes over into like a Word document, and then I'll have the rundown. But I'm not going to be able to take notes during the show because I got the kids going on. So I'm watching it, pay attention to the show, pay attention to the kids. I'm doing all this stuff. So that's impossible for me, but I did watch, and I did watch intently, and I do remember what happened. I just can't remember every sequence of events. But we get to the main event, and it is Santana was about to wrestle a job guy, and he's coming through the crowd, and Trick Williams sneaks up behind him. Now, Trick Williams said he wasn't coming to Minnesota, so it was a little switcheroo. He said he wasn't coming to Minnesota. And he was there and did an angle. They also promoted that Trick Williams is wrestling this coming up Tuesday. It's going to be him and Carmelo Hayes versus DIY on NXT. So they did a whole commercial about that. I get the feeling that Trick is going to wrestle Carmelo Hayes for the TNA title at No Mercy, which I don't like him defending that title against non-TNA people. I just think that's weird, but they're already doing it, so is what it is. But yes, Dobby, thank you. And then, of course, Io jumped in. Yes, Trick's attacks intended from behind. Yes, I missed that part. Like I said, I'm going off memory. My memory's not the greatest. I'm old. But yeah, he was about to wrestle, and he got attacked from behind, comes to the crowd. I thought it was a great segment. I think there's heat in that match, and that's going to be a big match at Bound for Glory. I think they're doing a really good job of building it. So, touche. Kudos to them for how they're building it. I still think that Santana should have won. So I'm not changing my opinion, even if they get another match out of it. So, all right, now let's get to the main event. You got the System as babyfaces coming out to a new theme song, and Chris Bay is on that track. So they did Chris Bay and some people did a new theme song for the System, and full blown babyfaces. They said that Fandango is not around. That he got taken out by Agent Zero. He's not really, they call him like this giant, but he's actually the same size as Matt Cardona, which is pretty funny. But turns out Fandango got married this weekend too. So him and MJF got married, not to each other, different people, but they both got married on the same weekend. So that's why Fandango was out, or Johnny Dango Curtis, whatever you want to call him. But so main event, the Nemesis versus the System. It was a really good match. Two really good teams. I want to see more of Eddie versus Nick Nemeth. I think they have chemistry. I know they've wrestled before. I think they should wrestle more often. I think we need to see another match between those two. Ryan Nemeth plays his role really well as a shithead little brother, leeching off of bigger brother. I think that act works. System's a really good tag team. The Order 4 interfered and distracted Eddie Edwards. And, of course, interference and distractions all up and down the show. That's just the way it is, I guess. And then Nick Nemeth hit the danger zone to get the victory. And now they're the number one contenders. They're invoking the rematch clause. And they're going to be doing it. I think they said next week. Yeah, next week. So and they'll be taking on the Hardy Boys next week. But yeah, I thought this week was actually a little bit better than last week, especially with the wrestling. But I think that whoever greenlit that Alicia Fox segment should be fired. 100%. That was terrible. But all right, guys, it is 11:14 p.m. I was on 2 days ago. I was on yesterday. I just did a live stream on Patreon, so go ahead and check that out. Did a little Q&A session, talked about some AJ Styles stuff, talked TV deal stuff, whatever was in the news. I talked about that. So go ahead and check that out. Check us out on Sunday night. We will be back talking all the latest breaking news, and we'll get more into the Paramount-WBD rumors talk. But that is going to do it for me this week on the Brace for Impact podcast. And until next time, mahalo.